Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how I built this beautiful hollow form out of Padauk and black wood veneer. So I started off here by planing down just with a hand plane. I actually don't own a planer yet. These strips, I believe I cut them about just a little thicker than I needed them. They're probably about 3/4 of an inch thick by probably about 1.5 inches wide. Just varying in length. So I start out by measuring my segment pieces to orientate them in order to make the correct shape, different ring sizes. Usually stack them on top of a board on my lathe. Also don't own a bench yet. That will be a new project for the future that I am very excited to get started on. Also, just keep in mind while you're doing woodworking like this for many hours, it's quite imperative that you listen to reggae, at least for me anyways. That just makes it a whole level more fun. So I cut these segmented rings at 11.25 degrees, making 18 segments per ring. Here I'm cutting out my veneer. I just use scissors, and I tried to cut it so that I'm only cutting side grain when they get stacked into the ring so that there can be no veneer tear out. I'm not sure if that is possible, but I just thought of that before I had turned a ring and thought that might be a good idea to start out doing. I think these rings took about 4 hours to get them all glued up. Here you can see me obviously listening to some sort of reggae, probably like Holly Buds or something like that. So on my last piece that I did that was segmented rings, I actually used my buddy's planer. He actually has a channel on YouTube. It's called Seattle Hill Sawmill. His name's Jeremy. He's actually a really cool dude. He sells slabs also. He sells all of his wood slabs, but he records really cool videos of him cutting them all up and using his huge bandsaw. He actually lives right down the street from my parents. But yeah, super cool dude. This time this is my first video edit, so I kind of was trying to figure out how to do this and how to make it work out right. So please leave a comment in the section below and just let me know how I'm doing or things that I could improve on as far as editing goes or audio or anything like that. But what I was going to say is so on this piece I actually took all of these rings and flattened them out with a board that I turned on my lathe, and I used double-sided sticky tape to stick sandpaper to it, and that actually worked quite well. I don't have a dust collection system right now, so that was really messy, but it actually worked out really nicely. There's no gaps or anything on the piece. And so for the base of the hollow form, I used Yucatan Rosewood, which is very beautiful. This was my first time turning it. So here I turned a tenon. This is my temporary tenon. Then from here I turned it around. So this is my finished tenon. I put some nice circles in the bottom, made it look real nice. And then from here I flipped it back around. And then from there I pretty much cut it in half and flattened it out really well. I used the back of my skew to make sure that it's flat because that's machined. Then I glue my rings onto there. So I lost quite a bit of footage actually. I edited this entire video and then a bunch of it got deleted. So the video of me flattening out the rings and the video of me gluing these rings together got deleted, but I feel that you can see through me explaining it in the few shots that I have here. So I glued on the first half, and I'm turning the inside just to make this a little bit easier to hollow out. Just turning out the bottom half and getting it all nice and smooth, just so I can have basically a more controlled finish on the inside. This is probably a good time for some music. Okay, so here I am gluing a ring of black veneer in between the two layers. In between the two halves. Had a nice sharp tool, so it wasn't really too slow of turning. I actually had to be really careful how much I took off at a time. With such a steep angle from the bottom to the sides, I actually was only able to turn just enough to get them smooth, and then I didn't go any deeper than that because I was down to about 1/4 of an inch between layers. So it worked out nicely, but it was just a little scary. I turned a little end cap and stuck that on the inside just while I turned the outside to keep it sturdy. I wanted it to be as clean as possible on the outside, and then from there I turned the inside. So here I am wiping off all of the dust after doing some sanding. I brought it all the way up to 2000 grit. That wood conditioner, it is orange oil and beeswax. It actually smells really nice. And that stuff works great. It really, it's basically a wood conditioner. Soaks up any oil and protects it from soaking up moisture. I live in Washington State, and it is crazy humid here, so you really have to put a lot of extra care into your pieces if you don't want them to like warp and fall apart. And then I used Form Bees, which actually I saw that on one of Kyle Toth's videos. That's actually where I got the inspiration to use the veneer in this piece. as well. And actually, interesting thing about the veneer, I had a bunch of wenge cut into 16th inch strips. And I was going to build a segmented piece similar to this, and use wenge in between it, just thin strips. But then I saw on one of his videos that he used veneer, and I thought, huh, that seems like a great idea. So I went ahead and tried that, and it actually turned out really nice. Here I am carving off just that last bit that I couldn't get with my lathe. I didn't really want to turn it until it fell off of the chuck. It was, especially with it being totally finished and everything. And here is the finished product. There is so much fire in that piece.